Welcome back to AM Northwest. Our first guest is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and the son of Portland's beloved three-term mayor, Vera Katz. His new book tells the gripping true story of a naive young gang member who botched one murder and survived another. We welcome the author of The Rent Collectors, Exploitation, Murder, and Redemption in Immigrant L.A., Jesse Katz. Good to have you back again.
It's great to be back in my hometown.
Yes. I feel like this was a book you were meant to write. Do you feel that?
It starts kind of in Portland, being a kid here and growing up in a very safe, sheltered environment, a very different world from the L.A. I describe in The Rent Collectors, and that is my life today. But I grew up with a sense of social conscience, and you knew my mother.
Yeah,
and so I always looked for stories that would allow me to stand in the shoes of somebody else, somebody whose life or experience is very different from mine, and look for ways to empathize with that, even if they're living a very challenging or marginalized existence. So when I came to LA and was thrown into a world of historically high crime in the 1980s and gang culture, and I really looked for opportunities to humanize the people who were involved in them and not just write them off because they had a certain kind of label or category around them.
You lived around MacArthur Park, and this story takes place in MacArthur Park. Explain for those of us who don't know what that is.
So I do think of LA as being one of the great misunderstood cities of the world, because we know it through film and TV, and even people who live in Los Angeles, we're so spread out and we have our different orbits. I'm surprised, or not surprised really, but I talk to so many people who have lived there for years, even their whole life, and they've never set foot in that community. And it's whatever your perception of it is of LA, it's MacArthur Park is just like another universe.
Right.
And there's a lot of contradictions. There's a beautiful park with a lake and fish and birds. It's the birthplace of the song MacArthur Park, about somebody leaving a cake out in the rain, that kind of trippy anthem from the 70s. But it's also home to tens of thousands of very desperate, poor people, largely undocumented, living in extremely dense and precarious conditions. And you just have, there's a lot of energy there, but there's also a lot of just desperation, people trying to find some way to survive. They've come here to work, and yet they are barred from the formal workforce. So people are inventing their own form of survival.
The book starts out, it's incredible, it just catches you. Giovanni, the main subject in your book, he has just woken up. He survived basically being murdered. So take me from there and how we go to what Giovanni had done in hopes of becoming a gang member.
Yeah, so the book starts with this young man, a kid really, he's just turned 18, and he's waking up on the side of a cliff in Mexico, and he has just been strangled by his own homies, betrayed and discarded and left for dead, and he's waking up trying to figure out, what now? What do I do with my life? And I'm obsessed with that moment. Like, what would any of us do, if we had, for whatever reason, committed just an unforgivable crime and then been left for dead, and you've been forgotten, but you're also kind of free in a sense. But he's young, and he has no money, and he's got no phone, and he's got no shoes on that day, and he has to sort of invent his life at that moment. What happened is he was part of a gang, a really nefarious, hierarchical gang that was exploiting and extorting the most vulnerable people in the MacArthur Park community, street vendors. And their street vending was criminalized by the city of Los Angeles for many, many years. It's changed recently, but the vendors were being harassed, arrested, fined by the police, and the gang members saw that and so thought, well, they'll take a cut of that action too. So they started charging rent for a vendor to be just on a plot of public sidewalk. And a really terrible form of taking advantage of people who are really just trying to eke out a living on those sidewalks. There was a vendor who decided he wasn't going to pay his rent. It was a courageous stand, and yet also foolish that he was taking on this gang. And so to send a message to that vendor and all the other vendors who are subject to this extortion scheme, they put a gun in the hands of the weakest link in their gang, a naive kid, needy, desperate to belong, really wanting to be loved by the gang. He called it respect, but it was a much deeper emotional need. And he makes a mess of it. He shoots the vendor that he's supposed to shoot. That vendor thankfully survives. But one of the bullets inadvertently strikes a newborn infant next to the vendor. And this is just, a tragedy that this happened. But it's also, we can be upset about this. In the gang world, it's almost like a war crime to kill a baby. And so the only way that this gang
even though it was accidental.
Look, gangs are okay with all sorts of violence and mayhem, but a baby is a different category. And so the only way for this gang to sort of undo the shame and kind of save itself from repercussions was to get rid of Giovanni. And he was so caught up in the illusion of the gang as his family that he didn't realize when they were taking him down to Mexico. He thought they were hiding him out. He didn't realize they were taking him to his own execution.
Yeah, wow. It's an incredible story. You're still connected with Giovanni. You're his mentor. But I want to take you back now to being in Portland in your mom's home space. 3 times the mayor here. I loved her. She was wonderful to me. What is it like for you to come back? Do you see your mom's impact in Portland?
I do see a lot of things. We were just talking a moment ago about the Lansu Chinese Garden. I mean, that was a dream of hers. We come to the East Bank Esplanade whenever we're in town. We're going to go pay a visit to her statue there today. I know you've been there. And Portland's going through a hard time right now too. I recognize that. But I come from Los Angeles for the last 40 years, and I think our hard times are multiplied many times over. So Portland, to me, as a visitor coming home to see friends and family, feels, quite frankly, like a really wonderful place.
Because you have your dad here still, and now your son is here, right?
My son is working for the Department of Parks and Recreation as a capital projects manager, helping with a new aquatic center that's being planned for North Portland. And it's an exciting project, and in some ways, picking up from his grandmother, acting out on that social mission.
I love that. Let's go back to the story, but find out, what do you think needs to change in LA for these kinds of things not to occur, if that's even possible?
I would say the area where I'm pessimistic about is our immigration system. The rhetoric today is so divisive, so toxic.
Absolutely.
I really can't stand the way that immigrants are dehumanized
Us versus them
in our
is kind of
politics. Exactly. I do think there's probably incremental things that could help. For instance, with street vendors, the city of LA somewhat belatedly decided to legalize street vending, and that really helped those vendors operate, be recognized for their self-sufficiency. It's an entrepreneurial phenomenon, and they're adding, an urban amenity to our city. But there's still a lot of regulations. There's a lot of fines. There's many ways in which, a $100 fine or a $50 fine, which you or I might shrug off or put on a credit card or whatever. If you are a undocumented immigrant living under desperate conditions, you don't have access to a bank account or credit, those kind of ticky-tack little things drag you into the court system, and it ends up criminalizing your poverty.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a book event tonight at Powell's. Your name is on the marquee. You have a book event. It's tonight at 7 o'clock, Powell City Books on 10th and West Burnside. We're going to put all the information there on our website. Again, the book is called The Rent Collectors, Exploitation, Murder, and Redemption in Immigrant L.A. Jesse Katz, thank you so much. Great to see you again.
Thank you so much, Helen. Great to be here.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.